If you want a bit of drama in your garden, the succulent we're going to talk about today will deliver in more ways than one. Echeveria affinis Black Knight is certainly a showstopper and will stand out amongst all the other plants. Contrary to popular belief, the Black Knight is not a hybrid created by crossbreeding, but a bit of a mutant. It's a form of Echeveria affinis that has developed dark-colored leaves and is native to Mexico. The Black Knight forms a rosette shape that can grow to approximately 15 cm or 6 inches in width and height. The rosettes can open and close depending on their growing environment and can sometimes seem a bit bigger, especially when they are in their growing season. This succulent forms clusters, though from my experience offsets may not always come up and it's not unusual for the rosette to be solitary. When clusters do form, the overall size can increase to about 20 cm or 8 inches in diameter. The leaves are long and pointy with white tips. They can also get quite fleshy when the plant gets a bit stressed. There's a very fine, almost undetectable coating of the white powdery substance called the farina. It acts like a sunscreen for succulents. Because there's so little, the leaves appear quite shiny. The color can change during different seasons and will also largely depend on the plant's growing conditions. During the warmer months and when the Black Knight is actively growing, green is very likely to dominate the center of the rosettes. But when this succulent is stressed by either and/or sun, cold, restricted root space or drought, it is likely to grow a dramatic dark chocolate color. Echeveria Black Knight is a sun lover and will need a certain amount of sunlight to grow well. It will tolerate filtered light outdoors, but it is likely to grow leggy and with minimal color. Moreover, it will be susceptible to fungal disease and sunburn if it suddenly moved in direct sun. Black Knight is not a good indoor plant and will start to struggle in a month or so, as it's simply not bright enough in an average house for this succulent. It is more likely than not that Echeveria Black Knight would eventually die indoors. You'd need a lot of direct sun or plant growing lights to keep it alive inside. This succulent can be grown in pots as well as frost-free gardens. In the garden, it has to be planted where water doesn't pool after rain. Raised gardens or slopes are ideal. The best potting medium for succulents in pots is a good quality succulent potting mix. It should have the right pH, good drainage, and will ensure your Black Knight grows well. In the garden, these succulents will grow best if a bit of potting mix is mixed in with the soil to break it apart and help the thin roots spread. And this is where Echeveria Black Knight can bring a bit of drama into your gardening world. This succulent does not tolerate frequent rain and overwatering well. It's highly susceptible to all kinds of water-related issues, including fungal disease such as rot or powdery mildew and splitting leaves when it has had too much water. I remember when I first started growing this succulent, my part of the world was in drought and it grew so well. And then the La Nina came along with 3 years of above average rain. The Black Knight quite literally pooped its pants, getting lots of mushy brown leaves and rot. I had to move over 400 Black Knights into a covered greenhouse where they were quite happy as long as the watering was very infrequent. This was a couple of years ago, and these days I tend not to grow and stock this plant much anymore because of all the tantrums it can throw. But if you'd like one in your collection or have it already, I'd highly recommend to control the watering and only water when the potting mix has completely dried out from the previous watering. Temperature-wise, the Black Knight grows best in frost-free parts of the world, but may cope during light frosts. When exposed to frost for longer periods, it can suffer frostburn. If snow and frost is normal during winter in your climate, it may be best to bring this succulent indoors for the duration. In summer, during heat waves, potted plants should be placed in shade or under shade cloth, as the black knight will suffer sunburn when in very hot direct sun. Echeveria black knight can be propagated from leaves and cuttings. It should also grow from seed, but this propagation method can be unreliable and seeds can take a very long time to become a fully grown plant. When you want to create lots of new plants, leaf propagation is the way to go. The success rate is decent enough when done during the right time. To pull leaves off, simply gently tuck to the side. You'll want the whole leaf to come away from the stalk without breaking it. Leaves can then be placed either straight on top of potting mix or left in a tray in a dry, bright spot until new growth and roots appear. After a few leaves start growing, they can be potted up. New growth should appear within about 3 weeks of the leaf being pulled off. It is unlikely leaves will grow well during winter, especially if your climate is cold. It's always best to propagate leaves in spring or summer when not too hot. For more instant results, cuttings can also be propagated fairly easily. Bigger or smaller rosettes will grow well. After cutting them off with a clean pair of scissors, leave the cuttings to dry for a day so the wound heals. This will prevent any diseases getting into the plant through the fresh cut. I would highly recommend starting black knight leaves and cuttings in succulent potting mix, even if the plan is to plant them in the garden. When the wound has dried up, pop the cutting in a pot. Once the roots have grown all over, the plant will be more resilient. Roots should appear within 2 to 3 weeks. Again, best time to propagate is spring and summer, but if you don't get frosts in winter, early autumn is good too. During heat waves, make sure the cuttings are shaded from super strong sun. Another reason I prefer not to grow Echeveria black knight a lot is because it's an unbelievable mealybug magnet. The deformed leaves in the center are due to this annoying pest. But that's not all. Aphids, slugs, snails, caterpillars and grasshoppers all love to include this succulent in their diet. When growing the black knight, frequent pest checks and control is a must, as they can easily cause an outbreak amongst your other succulents too. The black knight has gorgeous red flowers that usually come up on a tall stalk around winter time, though this can vary depending on where in the world you are. They last 2 to 3 weeks and can be used as a cut flower. Echeveria black knight is a safe, non-toxic succulent to have around pets and little humans. Despite there being no toxic properties to this succulent, we do not recommend eating it. And that's it for today. If you'd like to add anything to this video or have a question, you can leave a comment below. To learn more about succulents, hit the subscribe button or go to succulentgrowingtips.com. Thank you very much for watching.